Hey folks, welcome back to the table. Mark, welcome to the table today. Thanks for being here. I'm really glad you're here. So we've got a couple of ways this conversation can go today. You brew mead, you're a personal trainer, you compete in the Highland Games, your daughter just graduated, and for folks who may not know, you're also on the leadership team today, or here in Messiah. So today I want to talk about all of that through the lens of strength, patience, and faith. This episode is called Hidden Things and Heavy Roots. When you hear that phrase, Mark, heavy things and hidden roots, what does that bring up for you?
Heavy things and hidden roots. I wish that I could start with my father, but it would be my mom. Always, she was 4'10", fiercely independent, Scottish, from North Carolina farming. So, and a librarian. It was just this beautiful mix of things. And she didn't say root, she said rut.
When you think about strength, what images come to your mind first?
The number one way I see strength is perseverance. It's how I've always measured personal training, clients. It's not, I used to always say failure is a blessing, but really what I mean by that is there really isn't a failure. It's that once we have fatigued, once we are exhausted, we recoup, we remeasure, and we face it again.
Yeah.
And so that's how I've always measured strength. And I think that's how I also measure my strength with faith, if that's where we're going with that. Really every aspect of my life.
It's interesting that you bring it up because as you're talking about this, I'm hearing like waiting and returning in this game. So that kind of brings us into the conversation about me. So you know it. And a lot of folks at home may know it, but a couple of months ago, I accidentally introduced the congregation to mead. Mark, you had prepared a special bottle for us. I forgot to announce it, and folks thought we were drinking vinegar or cough syrup. So I personally really enjoy, especially the bottle that you gave me, and that's what we shared here with folks. But for folks who don't know, what is mead, and what drew you into brewing?
You don't brew mead.
Okay, what do? You buy it at the store?
No, it's a vintner. You're a vintner. It's making wine.
Okay.
You make a must. From there, you start to ferment. So there is no brewing involved.
What's the difference? Like for somebody like me who doesn't know.
Brewing, you raise something to temperature. You make a wort. From that wort, then you add yeast, and you go through a process like that. And then from there, you also then can make like distilled spirits. But no, it's just like making wine, but the difference is your main sugar is honey.
So worts and yeast are things that we usually don't want a lot of, right? But you're telling me we're going to put that in a drink. That's pretty good. Pretty cool. So what can go wrong if you rush that process?
There's a lot of acids. There's a lot of volatile acids that do not taste very good. You can get, it can actually, all mead is a little sour. So that was the component that they didn't quite catch. But there is a souring that goes beyond the palate that we can handle. And it definitely gets into that vinegary world where it gets really strong that direction, or it just spoils all right and you get something
Exciting.
It's going to go down the sink, yeah.
Yeah. There's something really beautiful about that, waiting for something sweet to develop in the bitter, while most of the work kind of remains hidden. So there's like all that magic in there. Does that feel like a metaphor for anything in your life right now?
What, making mead itself? And
no, the fact that you can tend to it, but you can't control it.
You're right. You try to make the right choices to put it in the right position to ferment the way you want to try to age the way you want to. But you're right. It in the end, every single time you taste the mead, you are seeing if it has done what you wanted it to do. So I do understand, like, there isn't full control there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what helps you trust that process when you're just kind of walking in the dark with it? Is it like a waiting game, a guessing game? How does that work?
I think it's like anything else. If you put the work in, you do enough dedication and intentional work behind it, most of the time it's going to be successful. I think that that's, interestingly, for those who didn't read Carrie's in the One Body today, she speaks of that. It's the nature of how those roots and the way things grow and everything of that nature. I think when you put enough dedication and work into it, for the most part, the outcome is going to be close to what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And when it isn't, you throw it out and you start again. And that's where the
Okay.
perseverance comes in.
Well, speaking of throwing, you recently competed in the Highland Games, and so that's still fresh on your mind. What's that world like for you?
Throwing is a complicated thing because sometimes I want to quit and sometimes I can't put it down.
Mm.
Really, that comes with the idea of an aging athlete and the nature of competition and the nature of there is a warrior mentality that comes along with that. But then there is this moment that we start moving away from warrior into teaching. And when that occurs, then your competitive fire shifts, it changes, and you start recognizing that this might be your last game, your last time throwing. This last game might have been it, but I don't plan for it to be, but every single time it's that way. So what I got from it initially was something far different than what I get from it now. Now I get to share experiences with people. I get to enjoy time outside, and I get to challenge my body in a way that one day it will not be able to do those things. And I recognize that every single time.
Yeah.
And so there's the beauty to that. And there is still a frustration because I have a tendency to weigh myself based on a previous expectation that might be 20 years old. And, but occasionally you get a really great day and you throw the best throw of your life. And that's still happening.
Yeah.
And that still brings me out.
So what are you so proud? What are you most proud of in this last season of throwing?
Not quitting.
Not quitting.
Yeah, not quitting.
Beautiful.
Were there some times, Mark, when you this past season specifically, when you were like, you know what, maybe I have aged out?
Yeah, I'm barely above 5'7", if that. And
I think that might be a stretch.
and in the games, everyone is 6 foot plus. They're huge people, and they outweigh me generally by 100 pounds. Not all of them, but most. And there was a component through my athleticism that I would win games some odd years ago by my technique, by my speed. And what starts to crumble as we age? We're not as fast. We're not quite as strong. And what was my gifts all of a sudden now, I would be like, I can push into it. I can move past my stature. And I've had to become okay with measuring myself by me, by what I was able to do before, and each day going out to throw again and not comparing myself to someone else. And that's been a huge difference. Answer the question.
Yeah. I mean, you answered, and you're speaking your truth, man. I appreciate it. So I want to stay on that and kind of continue down that path for just a minute. When people think about Highland Games, I know this was true for me. I went down and saw you do your thing here maybe 2 weeks ago or something, and it was the first time that I had experienced anything like that. And as we were pulling up to the park, we see these guys with these logs, like, I don't know, how long are they, 13 feet poles? Or
No. The minimum for men is 18.
18, and how much does that pole weigh?
That varies. It's called a caber.
Okay.
And caber is this Gallic for tree. and it can be made from, it is basically a tree of any number of woods, and that weight will vary depending on the kind of wood, from cedar to locust to oak. I
Yeah.
mean, it all depends
Wow.
on what it is, how long it's dried out. But generally, you're talking about 18 foot to 22 foot is going to be between, at the lightest, 90 pounds, at the heaviest, 150, 160.
Dang.
Pro capers can get a lot heavier than that, but I don't mess with those.
So imagine your 5'7" body and you're carrying an 18-foot caber, and you feel it. So you've been training for this, you've been getting, what is your body? And you've talked about, you've mentioned kind of feeling your age now. What does your body teach you about humility? You didn't know I was going there.
You know, the thing is that I train a lot of aging athletes, and a lot of times I can speak of patience and the ability to be okay with what is occurring a lot. Personally, that has been one of my challenges, because we all have, I guess, a mental image of ourselves, right? I think, and I definitely don't see a 46-year-old guy. I still see the guy.
I see a beautiful stag when I look into the mirror
No, but-
with a full head of hair.
Yeah, and I used to feel like that the same way. Now I feel like I'm Friar Tuck. But I think that there is a beauty to an aging athlete. And I don't think I always look at myself the way I would see my clients, who I love immensely, people who have been Olympic swimmers and now are still pushing as senior Olympic swimmers, or people who do cycling or anything like that. And I see this, like, you can see that they still want to strive. But there is this immense beauty to the way they can wake up and do those things. And for some reason, that's been one of the large challenges that I think I'm a work in progress there, is that I don't see myself the way I would see my clients doing that same work.
So would you say then that strength is mostly about pushing harder, or is it also about learning when to rest in this stage?
Well, rest and recovery are a part of every program. Rest and recovery is going to be part of it. We have to do it more as we age. We have to do it in the right way. You're not just going to sit still, but you have to learn to know when to do active recovery, when to get out and just take a walk, what it means to actually recover, what it means to listen to what the body is, and what are the pains that you can push into and the pains that you need to listen, step back, and give some time to rest. And they're different. So it's recognizing the difference, I guess.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible that you bring it up. And it sounds to me, and maybe it's just because of the job that I have, but it sounds to me a lot like church work too. Like the things, if we think about this place and all of the members of this as being different members of one body, I wonder if what we could learn by listening to each individual and learning when is it time for somebody to rest, or when is it time for somebody to push a little bit harder. I want to ask this gently and only as much as you want to share. Okay, Mark and I have some things in common. We both have beards.
Some better than others.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You'll get better. You'll grow into that. But we've also both spoken pretty publicly about our difficult relationships, or not difficult relationships, but our moms having difficult relationships with mental health. That kind of experience really shapes a person. It had a profound effect on me as a young person, and especially now as I've gotten older. And it really affected me and the type of parent that I wanted to be. And we'll talk more about that later. But when you look back over your shoulder, You spoke about a little bit of this in your sermon recently. I wonder if you could just take a few minutes now and talk about when you look back over your shoulder, how did that experience with your mom, particularly during moments of her struggle, how did that shape you, Mark?
Mm-hmm. I always would call myself, so this is directly my life, and you know, you say I'm never lacking for words.
Everybody would agree with that.
I forever always saw myself as very, very empathetic. If people wanted to use word like empath and all that, and I didn't understand for so much of my life that that was just a response to what was required from my mom. Like so many things, and it's not that it wasn't a great gift, but with that gift came resentment and anger until I started understanding where it came from.
Yeah.
And so it is amazing how brilliant someone can be and how a disease can rob them of that compassion and that caring. And 2 minutes later, they're making you bread pudding. They don't realize you have celiac disease and they're poisoning you, but you know, they're still doing some just these acts of kindness and love. And then how that seems to when you're not aware of it, how that leads you down every reaction, every relationship, um, how you measure that, and your sleepless nights, even to this day, are always asking those same questions of, did I give enough today? Was I listening enough today?
Did it make you feel like you had to become strong kind of early?
It made me feel like that I had to stay engaged, but be alone. That's where I felt. Everything I would express wasn't actually Mark. It was the reflection. We all do this to a degree, I guess. I think that's, but it was what was the expectation of how I was supposed to be, not who I actually was.
Yeah.
You don't have to share more details than you want to, but I'm curious about how this shaped you as a parent. When you became a parent, were there things that you knew you wanted to do differently, or that you wanted to hold on to, or you wanted to redeem?
My parenting life has been a little bit, I am immensely blessed with a wife who's been a phenomenal mother. I think early on, I feel like I was in caregiving mode for my dying father. And then as soon as my dad's dead, then I'm in role of taking care of my mother.
Mm.
And then it's like there are my kids, but now they have had 7+ years of a life without dad, not really having dad there. And the dad they did get was exhausted, had been worn thin by, you go into a shell of yourself when you're caring. I mean, I didn't really know who I was as a father until my son, who was once my daughter, expressed who they are in their heart. And then things started changing.
Yeah. What do you want your son and daughter to know about love?
Um, I think they're learning it. I think one of the things that I've listened to Kat understanding is that love is a gift. It is not earned. It is always there for us. And that my love and Karen's love is supposed to manifest that. There is nothing they can do that will take our love away from them.
That's beautiful.
And, but that wasn't, that it was a learning experience definitely from the idea of not quite feeling that from our upbringing.
So what did you want home to feel like for them?
A place they could be themselves and express who they are. And sometimes that meant, as a dad who had been distant, I wasn't part of every part of a relationship. I wasn't part of every single day.
Yeah.
But it's growing and it's getting stronger. And everything I had prayed for, once I started taking the steps, has been happening.
That's beautiful.
Mm.
And I think about the way that prayer affects our relationship, not just with God, and I hope that it does, but also how prayer affects our relationship with one another, especially the people that we're praying for. One thing I've noticed in my own life is that people who grow up carrying heavy things become really good at carrying more than they ought to. Sometimes it looks like strength, but usually it's survival. How did you learn to tell the difference, Mark?
Funny thing is, I didn't until I heard your sermon about it.
Okay, all right. Say more about that. I don't know.
You
I don't
spoke
know.
that, I don't know, now I believe it's almost the beginning of the year, but you talked about, it was after you would take on more and more roles. I think it might even have been around the idea of Senate and the food and the things that you do, and you just take on more and you take on more and you take on more.
Oh, back during Lent. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And you talked about that, and honestly, I believe I was still in the mode of, I have big shoulders, I'll keep carrying. And I think in that moment, and since then, the change that's been happening is I started recognizing, and this is why my sermon, the biggest leaps that have been happening have been, I realized that I don't come to Christ, Christ comes to me.
Amen, brother. That's a sermon. That's a sermon, folks. You still got to show up on Sunday.
And when that happened, I started recognizing all those things that I was carrying were only, I would start working through the musing of, like, my core holds my spine, but what holds my core? And that's when I started realizing is all those heavy things were always being held by God.
Always. Amen. So let me ask you this, and this is something that all of us who participate in our life together in church should be thinking about. How do you know when something is yours to carry, and how do you know when it's time to set something down?
I think that's still a learning process for me, but I think something I don't do incredibly well. I read people well, I don't listen well. When people really express, I have a tendency to already be putting on how I feel. It's like they say that, but really they're needing this. I'm trying to take that moment, step back, and when my daughter needs that space, I just put my hand on her shoulder and I just say, I'm there. And she will come. She needs it.
Yeah.
That's that way it is in here. It is hard sometimes when you heard me break down when I called people up inside my family, because they are. They're not kind of, they are. And sometimes when you see the heavy struggles they're fighting through, whether it is just coming up to take communion, but it's still their place to get up. It is their place to walk. And it is not my place to carry them. It's for them to carry their own feet.
You're making me tear up over here. I'm getting a little watery.
And I think it's been hard for me to let that be. And, but I also I would want that to be given to me. So I do my best to give it to them.
That's a hard thing when you're a person who wants to fix and take care of folks. I know I struggle with that one too. So you're really speaking to me here. Let's talk about Kat. She just graduated from high school, and that's like a huge accomplishment. Where are you in your feelings with all of that?
Oh, immensely proud. Guys, most people, I have been wanting to get into church, be active part of church for, I don't know, since I was a child, actively, truly part of a church. But it took not me struggling, not my mental health struggles and the multiple attempts in my past. It was sophomore year where she wouldn't even get out of bed.
Mm.
That we didn't know what to do. I would try to carry her in, her kicking and screaming, and just have to go right back and bring her back to the house. Not knowing, like, it was that tough love. She just needs to go in and do this. And it was watching, after all that, thinking there is no return, watching her get involved with the church, watching as she started just to challenge herself to get out of bed, to change her schedule, to do these things that felt like impossible just a month prior. And then she goes on and does the commencement speech. She goes on to be one of the top 5 in the class. She tests out like crazy. She's a brilliant little girl, woman.
Yeah.
She is right now, going to be studying pre-med, maybe move to nursing. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But
Ambitious.
yeah.
Beautiful. Is there a little grief mixed in with that joy and pride that you're feeling?
I don't feel, I do feel a little bit of, for a long time, every single time she would go into her episodes, she would blame me. Not blame mom, blame dad. For the diseases I gave her, she has celiac disease and she has anxiety disorders and depression and suicidal thoughts and all the stuff. And every time she would go down that world, she would always be like, it's dad's fault. And slowly, she started realizing that was these were her things. And just as she was given things that are the challenges, she was also given immense gifts by both Karen and myself, and by her church and all those people who love and care about her.
Yeah.
And even her crazy grandmother. And I know that word can be a trigger, but that's how she was seen a lot of times. And I don't mean that in a negative way, please.
Yeah. So what is that teaching you about letting go in that season?
Kat became who she is because of Kat. It made me realize that the less I did, the more I would just give her love and support and be there, but the less I tried to pull her along, the less I tried to push her in a direction, the less I did all those things, the more she started thriving, the more she started getting her feet under her, the more she started getting more confident. And she is the woman she is because she is fierce, and I know she's going to be successful because of all those challenges that she's been facing.
Yeah. There's a sort of hidden root faith in parenting, right? Like you plant seeds and you drop them along all along the way. And then eventually your kids start stepping into their own life, kind of like you mentioned. What do you hope has taken root? Like if you could say one thing, what do you hope has taken root in Kat?
She has immense she has immense faith that Jesus is always with her. She doesn't always know why things are happening. She doesn't know all those things, but she has immense faith that Jesus is always with her. And I do believe that that is something. I've always spoken confidently of that.
That's beautiful. What part of you do you hope she carries forward? You said it earlier that she used to blame you for a lot of the I don't even want to call them diseases, just the things that you think of are not as whatever. Like, what do you hope that she does take from you, Mark? There are so many good things about you. Which one do you want her to carry forward?
I hope she maintains her passion, her intensity. I hope she does that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also serve in some leadership roles here at Messiah. We don't need to get into church business, but I do want to talk about like the heart underneath all of that. So what keeps you saying yes to this congregation? Because it's one thing after another. You talked about always wanting a home and a church family. You have one here, man. Like, these big folks love you. You love them. What helps you keep on saying yes when there's so many things going on in your life?
Because I committed to God, I would. It's the simplest thing.
Say more about that.
I said, the day I walked in and Pastor Mark was the pastor, and Chris came up and hugged me for the first time, and Larry Moeller was sarcastic singing songs, and it was awesome. But I said, if you lead me to a home, I will continue to help build it, to make it stronger. I said that to him. I committed to it. And one reason I say yes, I do try to weigh it. I do try to discern like where I'm being called in that. So it's not like I recognize you can't say yes to everything. I definitely cannot. There are things outside my ability, just like there are things outside of both of yours.
Yeah.
And many of our, but we also have immense strengths. So I try to lean into the areas that I feel that God has blessed me with, and also the things that I think I need to grow in, that I have abilities, but I need to get stronger with. Like, prime example is I never saw myself actually getting up and doing a sermon. I think I said no to you, twice?
Maybe. I keep asking.
Yeah.
Don't stop asking.
Yeah.
What kind of strength does the church need right now?
Wait a minute, hold on.
Oh.
Don't answer that yet.
Sorry.
I want to go back because Mark recently said yes to something pretty cool here at Messiah, and I wonder just if you could just give a shameless plug about something that's coming up in October.
Oh, yeah, we're planning Oktoberfest, and this is exciting because, like, I will say, when I've gotten into church leadership, I didn't know the level at which there are a lot of things that aren't.
Let's mute this part. Cut.
Everything's fine.
But this is one of those moments that we can bring back something that they used to do. And you could hear when you bring up Oktoberfest with people, there's a joy there. That was a good time. That was an exciting moment for Messiah. And I think we can bring that back. And just the idea, what's really cool is so many people have different gifts. Like the fact that Gordon is going to be involved with it, that's amazing. And even if we don't have like the dunk tank and stuff like that, just the joy seeing someone, the idea.
Did you hear that? There's discerning a dunk tank, folks. It's gonna be $100 to dunk Miss Mary.
I don't think she'll get in there.
Only if the $100 goes to her.
But yeah, and just next week, I would challenge. I mean, obviously, anyone that wants to be involved that we haven't thought about, we are going to be at Schultzbrow at 4 p.m.
Okay, all right. So let me ask you this. This may be a little tricky question here, but have you been able to see any sort of what we might think of as hidden roots in this congregation. You're new to the congregation, and I love that you're in leadership because new folks bring new life and new energy and have a way of seeing things that folks who've been around all of these years, it kind of becomes part of the furniture, right? So I wonder if you could just help remind people, what are some hidden roots in this congregation? Oktoberfest is certainly one, but I wonder if there's anything else that you've noticed that folks really just connect with.
Well, I think music they're immensely connected with. Uh, you can see that even in our Wednesday, that we had one song, but that song had power to it. And it had, I think that is an area, and I am not that immensely connected to music. I sing horribly. I kind of mouth things.
It's called a joyful noise. Doesn't say anything about pretty or melodious.
But it is beautiful to see the energy when people are in worship like that. I think that's one element. And again, I had never really been involved in more traditional music. Growing up and being snuck into churches, it was always our God is an awesome God.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. It was that kind of thing, and it was very youth group based, and that didn't mean it wasn't nice, but there was something powerful about that. And this is going to seem a little weird saying this to a pastor.
Oh boy.
The roots that are here because of passion is sometimes things that matter. People express anger even when they don't say it outwardly. You see their frustration, you see something that gets to them, but they do that because there is something that matters immensely here.
Yeah.
And it matters to them, but they don't explode. They carry it, they deal with it, and they work through it. But you can see that happen sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. That happens with any family,
Yeah.
just like it would at any home.
But then you see them work through it, and that part is absolutely stunningly beautiful.
You know, we take a lot of heat. I take a lot of heat specifically about this congregation. We've been through some things, and we've been through some transitions. Some that are not as comfortable as we'd like. But one thing I have to say about the folks who are here, they are committed to this life together, to Jesus Christ, and to seeing this place continue to be a place of shelter for anybody who's looking for a home.
Yeah. So, like I said before, what kind of strength do you think our church needs right now? Is it like a strength to change? Is it more about patience or to tell the truth?
I have seen a little bit of a shift, and I think this is where the strength of us comes in. I give a lot of credit to both of you, but I also give credit to some of the old timers having a change in the way they're seeing things.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tom is one of your 10 people, Tom Cole.
Of course he is. You have to be a mean person for Tom Cole to not be one of your top 10. Okay.
But the way he expressed, and I think I told you this, I've always seen Tom as an amazing person, but he immensely moved me in our Wednesday service about the way that one moment with the pastor, shaking when he was a child, and treating him in that way, and thinking about where our connection with our youth is in our future. And seeing how that is, and you can tell that is so immensely important to everyone. And I think that's where our strength is. I think our strength is recognizing it's the intergenerational. It's understanding that we have an aging congregation that has wisdom and value, and getting that to our youth who also are passionate, smart, and they're the life of the place.
Yeah. What gives you hope for Messiah?
The people. It's always been the people. And I am partial to Pastor Josh.
I'll try not to let that hurt my feelings.
I'm partial to fit too, but I have a feeling your calling won't be here.
Okay. So when you think about your life and you think about all those pieces, you know, not brewing, what are we calling it?
Vintnering.
We're vintnering.
Yeah.
That's a new word. We're
You're
venting,
making a must.
making a must. I'm gonna have to take notes. You're training, you're competing, you're parenting, you're a husband, you serve in our community, you're carrying really heavy things all the time. What do you think God has been growing in you?
Oh. Um, I'm not the same person. I'm not the same person when I walk in the door here. I can see the growth occurring as a father, as a brother, um, every day. And part of where I think the biggest part is understanding. It really has been the change in understanding the things to carry and the things to put down. And that wisdom, that ability has changed a lot of things in my life currently. And I think it's just going to get more and more.
Mhm.
It's going to build.
So if you had to have a word,
Mhm.
like one word to wrap it all up, like that you're going to carry into the next season of your life, what would that word be?
Mm. I think it is the strongest word of all we have is the greatest gift. And it would be grace. That would be the word that would carry forward for me.
Yeah.
Mark, this is our last question. For folks who are watching and feel like they're carrying something heavy right now, or who wonder if anything good is growing beneath the surface, what would you say to those folks?
It would be better if I'm not going to say a name, I'm going to speak to a person. Because that's how we do things, right? We have a tendency.
Right there.
Yeah. So even if you feel like you're alone, even if you feel like you are forgotten, I promise you, you are thought about daily. I promise you have a home here with hearts that want to embrace you. And just remember, this is part of your home.
Mark, thank you for being at the table with us. Sometimes strength is patience, compassion. Mostly it's knowing what to carry and what to put in God's hands. And sometimes the life God is growing starts hidden like roots under the soil. Thanks for this conversation. Thanks for tuning in.